Bloom couldn't get into our party. I did those parties, one, to make money, but also to give a platform for artists who, like, weren't poppin', but were really good. Who, like, you know, maybe, like, needed the extra push to be like, you know, I can do this, I can keep going, I play my music, people like it. Got in the DJ Mag's top 10 parties of the year, or top 10 parties of the country, sorry.
Yeah.
And that was with, like, Space Yacht was in there, Brownies and Lemonade was in there. You cannot rely on this, in this day and age, to just rely on the headliner to bring people. It's the community around it. You know how much money we lost? And, like, it's feast or famine.
Hi, this is Lauren Engel of Sidewalk Talk. Today I'm here with Julian Ragman.
Hey.
So you were born in D.C.?
Yeah, so I was born in Washington, D.C. I grew up there, too.
And then you went to a boarding school?
Yeah,
there?
I went to a boarding school for, like, 6 years. In Virginia, in like Southern Virginia, so it was really interesting going from like a super like liberal democratic like setting that is Washington D.C. to like very conservative like Southern, like very traditional. It's crazy. It was like we had to go to church like 4 times a week,
Whoa.
3 times a week, but like still that's a lot. That's a lot. And so it was interesting. Like, and you met people from all walks of life. Like we had a bunch of people from like China, Korea, Russia. You know, the South, the North, England, France. It's a little bit of a melting pot.
And then you were listening to rap music, right, from the radio?
Like pretty much like as a kid, like I always like watched BET and like MTV and like, you know, MTV2. And then after that was over, I went downstairs and like listened to like Yahoo Radio because like I didn't know like how to use the radio. I did not know how to use the radio, but I wanted to listen to like unedited music, and Yahoo Radio had all of that, so I made like 200 channels of just like different rap music.
Whoa.
And I would just sit down there like do homework like in our computer study because that's like what people in the 2000s had, just a little computer study.
How did you get into more of the electronic music?
I think in high school, I think it was like Daft Punk. And this actually, like, I think they're from Germany Germany, but this, like, hard style group, not even hard style, it's just a group called Scooter, who just made really hard electronic music. And then from there, I was like, oh, this is super dope, like, what else can I find? And I went and found, like, Tiesto's In Search of Sunrise, and then David Guetta put his album out with the Kid Cudi track, and the other, you know, it was big, I think it was One Love, I forget what the album was called, but yeah, that period put me down the rabbit hole. I think that was like 2009 into like loving electronic music.
What was the kind of scene like for electronic music in DC back then?
It was crazy. It was more local based. It's so interesting because you had like a bunch of locals with like parties, and they sold out like every single time they did a party. So because it wasn't on demand, there wasn't like venues there to book like world-class talent. You know, they had some like, you know, techno parties here and there, but as far as the scene goes, everybody was still like in love with the locals because, you know, you could go out, pay $5 and hear all the music you like, and just like it'd be a great party, and people cared about that.
Yeah.
And so like it's interesting to compare it to now because the local scene pretty much is dead.
Oh wow.
Like it's crazy. You have like 2 locals that I worked for, or 3 locals that I worked for, Nouveau Riche, and they would sell out like 500 cap rooms all the time.
What?
As 3 locals every month. And now you put like 6 or 7 years later, and they can barely do 50 people because it's so the supply is so much.
Wow.
So it's interesting to like compare, like especially DC and maybe the rest of the scene with like, you know, how locally based it was versus now where everything's just like everybody's fickle. They just want to see what's new, what's hot, like what has hype behind it. So it's interesting.
And then in college you did Middle Eastern.
Yeah, I love the Middle East. My best friend, he was, at boarding school, he was studying the Middle East, and I found it fascinating when I was talking to him. He was living in Egypt too. So, and I had no idea what the Middle East, not no idea, but I had no like knowledge of like what the Middle East was, what the history was, what the current ramifications, or what, you know, the different foreign landscape was. So I was like, I'll do this. This is really interesting. So I did that, and then I was in the Digman Entrepreneurship Society at the University of Maryland because I had a blog company and a promo company, that was running to pay rent.
Oh, Electric Squeeze.
Yeah, Electric Squeeze.
Okay, what was the blog scene, or like why did you even want to start that?
I just wanted to get into it. Like, I just was like, I want to do something with music in like 2010, end of 2010. And I was like, you know, all my friends were asking me for music. They're like always, even in high school, people would come with USBs and be like, give me a bunch of music.
Oh wow, so you're the
like,
tastemaker
yeah,
already.
exactly. And back in the day, I don't know if iTunes still had this, like all the computers were connected on one local area network, and you could see how many people were connected to your iTunes. And I constantly had like 60 to 70 out of a boarding school of like 180. You know, so it's like, oh shit, like, oh yeah, I'm doing things. And what's it called? So it was always that. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna start a blog and centralize a place for me to host music and like just show all my friends what I'm listening to.
Were there already a lot of blogs back then?
Yeah, it was like during that time when like blogs...
Was it the peak or was it like early or right before?
It was during the peak. I started during the peak.
So it's already kind of competitive of you when you got in.
Yeah, exactly. And I used Reddit to help me like streamline getting readership or whatnot a lot.
Like how?
So I would post on like R EDM, R Electronic. If I did like a Moonbaton post, do our Moonbaton.
And a lot of people would just click into your site.
Exactly, and if you did it at like 9 a.m., I also had like 10 Reddit accounts. And I would just sign in and upvote it so it'd get to the top. And once it got to the top, like people would just upvote it automatically.
Yeah.
And we'd get like, you know, maybe 300, 400 page views a day when we were starting out from that.
Wow.
And that was like a way to like market it. So like, you know, that's how I started, just being like growing organically, and then we were averaging out at like 1,500 at one point.
So there were people that just, I guess, went straight to your site every day. That's crazy.
It was crazy. It took like, I think about a year and a half for it to really get going. And once it did, like, you know, I got more writers in. At its peak, there was like 16 people under me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were paying all these writers, or they were
just doing
like
it.
Festivals?
So the people for festivals, and they just wanted to be a part of it to add it to their resume.
I need these people.
Like literally, it was so crazy.
People
like,
help me edit, please.
So the people I paid, I had in College Park, I was like, okay, I'm gonna start a party with the Electric Squeeze because I was DJing, and I was like, I want to do a party that's dope. And like we started this party called Turned Up Thursdays, and we built it from like 0 people to averaging about 650 a week.
Oh wow.
Like just ratchet, like, you know, $2 rails, like. And people are down, and like that's when I like, you know, met like Manila Killa and like Royal.
So how did you? So how did you actually meet them?
So Chris emailed me a submission for a blog post.
Yeah.
And I was like, I checked it out, and I saw he was from Virginia, and I was like, dude, I'm from DC, like, let's hang out. And he was like, yeah, for sure. And then we ended up, I think the first time I met him, we played at like a 30 cap room or something. And it was great. We hit it off. So I was like, dude, just come chill anytime. And he used to come up to my apartment all the time. And he would play like the parties at like the 2 venues we had in College Park. And same with Ahmad. Ahmad I met at some party, and it was funny. My best friend in college, like who I took all my like Middle Eastern Studies class with, was his ex-girlfriend, and kept telling me about him.
Oh.
And I was like, I've never met him. And I was like in the scene then. And then one day I was just like at a party, and I was just, you know, we were just talking. And I was like, oh, what's your name? And he's like, Ahmad. And I was like, wait, do you know this girl? And he was like, dude, that's my ex. I was like, oh my God. And we've just been like really good friends ever since. But it's been nice to like, I did those parties, one, to make money, but also to give a platform for artists who like weren't poppin' but were really good. Who like, you know, maybe like needed the extra push to be like, you know, I can do this, I can keep going, I play my music, people like it. I think it really helped like a lot of just different people just achieve their goals, or just get the push to take it to the next level.
Yeah. How are you making money off Electric Squeeze?
Oh my God, so they were so stupid. So one venue would just pay us like, what was it, like $1,500 flat, no matter what.
Wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. They're stupid. And then the Turned Up Thursday party,
you just have to like write a post about them like every week.
We literally just show up, play, and they would just hand us a check at the end of the night. It was the easiest money I've ever made in my life. And then the other party, we got 80% of the door, $5 cover. So
Oh wait, so Electric Squeeze was already like that was the venue, that was the event series and the blog series.
Yeah, so we like combined it into like
Oh.
a whole thing.
Oh, so it's kind of like a little agency. Like
Yeah,
you both,
exactly.
Like promo and the
Promo and promo blogging, and then like also parties.
Oh.
Yeah. So we found a way to monetize it, and that's why I was in the Digman Entrepreneurship Society, started by the Under Armour CEO who went to Maryland. But only 5 people a year get into that program.
wow.
And I was in there for 3 years. I was the only one making money. I was like, hey, what's really popping? I got a company card. But yeah. So Ahmad is the one who got me into music, like making music. Like I always wanted to dabble into it, but Ahmad was like that catalyst.
Yeah, and the first one was like Sexy Back, right? That got on BBC.
So he, came to my apartment like in 2013. I was dabbling in Ableton, maybe like passively. And he was like, we spent like 8 hours together just like hanging out, and he was showing me all this music from back in from 2013, his Royal project. And I was just like, oh man, this is so dope. I like want to have all these ideas, but you know, I need to put the time in. And he was the one that inspired me to put the hours in to like get to a point where I am right now. And I still have a long way to go, but he is like the person that inspired me to like pursue music production full time. And honestly, it's like one of the best things that ever happened to me, because like I'm most happy when I'm making music, when I'm in front of Ableton. I just feel at home, like calm, collected, and just being able to like express myself like any way I want to.
Mm-hmm. And then how long after Electric Squeeze did you do New Androids?
So I graduated college. I went to Ibiza, was my best friend. Then I went to go spend like 2 months in Jamaica, where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
And there I came back, and I had a proposition from 2 business partners that, hey, let's seed Electric Squeeze. And I took the money and I like went over to New Androids, and we started that party. I was with New Androids for almost 3 years, and you know, we did a lot of accolades. Like we did like Jamie Jones, we got in the DJ Mag's top 10 parties of the year, or top 10 parties of the country, sorry.
Yeah.
And I was with like Space Yacht was in there, Brownies and Lemonade was in there, like Shake and Bass was in there. So it was like really good. You know, it was a good thing. It was like, all right, like I accomplished like something, like something substantial.
How did you even like get your name out there, or even start booking artists, or like advice for people who are watching this who wanted to like,
you know, honestly,
the start of it?
You have to look at the landscape and see like what's missing. Like you like if you're in a minor market, like you say like if you're in Orlando, you got, you know, and it's already starting. It's like even like creating like a Dirty Bird hub, or creating like a certain type of like booking where you're booking one specific genre and people around it, so you can build a community out of it. That's how you get successful. Like if you look at like what Space Yacht did, they have a community that engages with them every single week that will come out no matter what. And that's the most important thing for throwing shows, because you cannot rely on this in this day and age to just rely on the headliner to bring people. It's the community around it. And see, like for New Androids, like we built up a Wednesday party because we didn't want to compete with anybody. And so like with Wednesday, we had, you know, 50 or 60 regulars that would come no matter what. And it's like, if you want to get started and be successful at it, you have to be out there meeting people, like shaking hands, like, you know, taking shots, and just being, you know, people want to come out and be like, oh, let's go to XYZ, I want to go see this person. And you have to be that person, more so than the artist. Mm-hmm. So that's like what a lot of people miss, is they think like, oh, I'm just going to book like, I don't know, like Ekali or like Justin Martin and everybody's going to come. No. Like, you have to have a community under it to let everybody else know to come to this party. And that's how you make money off of it.
Yeah.
Is the community aspect.
Did you already know, like, all their bookers and, like, were...
No, I was, like, cold calling emails. And then New Androids, I wasn't the talent buyer for it. Like, I did, like, background. Like, I did, like, if it was, like, you know, homie status, it would be a text. But I kind of wanted to, like, not have my name be in front of agents, because I was focusing on making music, and I was like, in due time, like I want to be like, I don't want to be viewed as like a talent buyer turned DJ. I just want to be like viewed as a producer DJ.
So were you more on the promotion, or what was your
role? I owned part of the company, and I was like if it's like official title is like chief operating officer.
Oh, okay.
So it's like all the operations from A to Z, you know, making sure the company runs smoothly, making sure like our venues are up to date, taking care of the accounting, you know, making sure the company ran smoothly on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Was it stressful, like,
Oh my
booking an artist
God.
and not knowing if you were gonna...
You know how much money we lost? And like it's feast or famine. So like 1 month you could lose like 30K, next month you can make like 25.
Yeah.
That actually...
Is there... Like, how would you know if that artist was actually able to, like, sell tickets? Like, do you...
Well, we asked, like, how much, like, hey, like, so what are the plays in other markets? But see, DC is so fickle. Like, here's an example. Like, I think it was Goldfish. Yeah, Goldfish. They played Electric Zoo, and they brought, like, 2,000 people out to their set.
Mm-hmm. And
then we booked them at our 800-cap venue, like, 3 or 4 weeks later, and they sold 5 tickets.
Oh, what?
Yeah. So we were like, yeah, we gotta cancel this. We're not paying you like $8,000.
Yeah.
Like, it's a bad look for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know, cause like there was one artist named Weiss. He sold 3 tickets, but we were all really down. It was like, you know, cheap booking, and you know, 200 people came out and paid at the door.
Whoa. What was the most, like, biggest success you've had?
Justin Martin at Flash, we did 950 people at $30.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we made money that night. We made money. That was an interesting. Yeah. Oh my God. Hotel Garuda's first show too was interesting as well. That was crazy.
What happened?
It was just like, I think it was like 450 people, which was like in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And because the venue only holds like 220, so like that was insane that many people came and saw, and it was just really, it was a great moment for like Chris being in his hometown too, and being able to do that at a venue on a Wednesday. Yeah, that was cool to watch, just seeing him go from like a 30-cap room to like doing numbers. Yeah. That was like so cool to watch. I was like, damn man, I'm so proud of him. My favorite show that I did was the Sophie concert, and I think it was a PC Music Night. What's it called? It was the Washington Post named it one of the most iconic events in DC of the year in 2016. Mm-hmm. And it was funny as hell to me because we lost like $3,000 on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, that was so dope. Like everything Sophie did was so great. Like the music was amazing. Like, and we looked at our totals and we were just like, damn.
Did that many people come?
I mean, yeah, like 300 people came, but like we're talking about like a 800 cap space. So it's like the offer was based on an 800 cap offer. So like, plus like he brought support. And we only had 2 CDJs because it was like a ranky ass like club or whatnot. And I remember being with the sound tech, like opening up the CDJ, taking like some air thing and just like air drying it with like 10 minutes to go, and we were just, you know, praying that it worked. You know, we took it back one time, it still didn't work, we went back, got it to work, so it became on, and it was a great show. But still, I was just like, holy crap, my heart was racing so much. And we still lost $3,000.
Damn, what inspires you to do it every day if it's like so difficult? I feel like that stress level I wouldn't even be able to deal with.
Honestly, creating something special, like having a community that really supports you and doing stuff in the city that no one else is doing was like what drove me. Mm-hmm. Like it was like especially in the early days, like being able to do the first Moving Castle showcase, second one ever at U-Haul with Blaze.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like being able to help your friends out when they like need, like, you know, no one's really paying attention to them but like, you know, they're dope. Being able to give them a platform was really like something that drove me to do it.
And how about the Baauer?
Baauer just he was like, I want to play a small room. He just hit us up and was like, let's play.
Oh, is this like
Flash.
After Harlem shit?
Oh, this is way after. This is like 2017 early.
Oh, okay.
And he, I think he had just played 930 Club, which is 1,200 cap. And he was like, I want to do an intimate show. And he was like, let's do it. And we were like, okay. And it was crazy. It was a great night.
Whoa.
Great night. Oh my God, I forgot about this. Going back to the Justin Martin thing, being the most successful night, Flume was playing at 930 Club and tried to come and couldn't get in.
What?
Yeah. So he was.
Did they not know who he was?
No, they had no idea. he tweeted us the next day. He was like, "Do you try to come through?" He tweeted at JULIUS Martin and us. And he was playing 9:30 Club, and he was just like, "Yo, I'm trying to come. I was trying to come in, but the door people wouldn't let me in. Said it was too packed." Flume couldn't get into our party.
That sounds like the clickbait right there. Wouldn't let Flume into the.
That's when I was like, all right, if this fails, I've did it. Like, I did everything I needed.
Did you get him to play after, or like contact him after?
It was the next day when he told us.
Oh.
And honestly, I was very drunk, so like, like even if it was like a thing, I probably wouldn't have been able to. Like, I was like, door person would be like, "Get out of here, Julian."
And then you decide to leave it?
Yeah, so, I mean, while I was with there, I was, like, producing, but I wasn't, like, producing as hard as I wanted to. Like, I wasn't finding enough time for, like, music, and, like, it was also really stressful, and I was getting burnt out a lot. And it just wasn't healthy, honestly. So, like, you know, in a year ago, actually around this time, I told my partners, I'm like, look, I'm selling my shares. I'm going to be done. And, they were like, once I got everything sorted, I just bought a one-way ticket to Berlin and just went to go live with my best friend out there.
Oh.
In like in East Berlin, in the center, like 10 minutes from Berghain. Like, and just like, had no income. Like, I literally just like cut myself off from everything, and I wanted to like figure out like what I actually wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something in music, and you know, what I came to the conclusions was, I want to go all in on production. I want to go, like, you know, have a record label. I want to be successful at it. I want to do things, like, I want to, like, be in a position where I can make music every day. And that took me, like, 2 or 3 weeks to, like, find. And I think what the moment was is I went to this 49-hour party. 49 hours. 49, not 48. 49 hours, because Germans. And it was, like, a minimal techno party, like, in the old East Soviet radio station. So it was a gutted building, and it was 4,000 people just all vibing to minimal techno. It was honestly insane. And I was just like, the power of music is just so incredible. And like, that was the moment when I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do when I get back. Like, I'm gonna go full in. No, just like make music.
Oh.
I still take elements from it, but like, that scene is strictly for Berlin. Like, if I was living in Berlin, maybe like I would dabble in it, but like, I really love hip-hop, and I literally love house music. So the best way I know how to express myself is to combine the both of it. And I have hip-hop influenced dance music. So a lot of my original productions are all with rappers. That like, because I mean, it's not 2014, you can't just make a remix anymore and just like put it out. I'm all about like just working with really good rappers and then getting like remix packages done. And I do the same thing for my label. Like, I'll get like tracks and I'll plug them with vocalists that they can't get.
Is this Ghetto Ghetto?
So this is Ghetto Ghetto. So Ghetto Ghetto Records is my own thing. It's my record label. And DJ Elvice, I have an A&R who lives in Turkey who does an amazing job. Was in Ankara, and together we just like put together a really solid roster of people. Like, we got London Bridge on it. We got the homie Lick, who's he has an EP on Deadbeats. Like, it was like he did Ghetto Ghetto, then he did Deadbeats. Mm-hmm. So it's like a good look all around. We got Cass Nowitzki from Montreal. So we got Montreal fam. We got Gabe Kramer, who's one of the biggest artists in Brazil. Like, he's Alok's like best friend. Mm-hmm. And he did a whole thing. And we got Gary Gonza, who just did a track with Destructo and Bijou. He did an EP with Bijou. You know, 219 Boys, who are night-based staples. You know, we're slowly getting to like, Ryan Collins, who's done so much stuff, to just like all these people from all over the world. And so the point of it was to like make our own lane where we could release the music that we wanted, because right now, like, the way house music is it's like everyone is like making one particular sound, and the labels right now are only accepting like one particular sound. So everything is just getting monotonous. So we're like, you know, to get out of that, let's provide a lane where, you know, producers don't have to dumb themselves down to fit a particular mold. And that's where we found success.
Yeah. And
people were getting like, you know, 15 to 20 demos a week. Like, you know, people are starting to pick up, and it's from all over the world. Like, I had some kid in Mozambique, like, emailing me being like, I want to be on your label.
Oh, wow.
And it's just like, damn, like, our music, like, reached that far.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Was it difficult to like figure out and how to monetize it?
Honestly, like the parties, I've always been really good at throwing parties. So like the label side only makes so much, but our parties in DC make a lot.
Oh.
So like now when I do a show in DC, which is where I'm from, like, you know, they'll pay us a nice chunk of change to like do this party.
Oh,
and
so
that
you're
gets
still
the
doing
brand
like
out there.
ghetto, but like events.
Yeah, so it'll be like Ghetto presents Julius Jetson. The last one we did was special guest Gary Gonza.
Oh.
And then we're working on stuff in Charlotte right now, in New York, and hopefully LA soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what's ultimately gonna make the label money. But it's more about providing an outlet for the artists that can't get their stuff signed because it's a little bit too aggressive for American house music labels. So people appreciate it. Like, you know, the repeat value of people being like, I want to like be on your label and I want to keep giving you EPs is really good. And like, you know, one of the people's like, he was like, you know, Night Bass wanted my EP, but I went with you guys.
Oh wow.
And it's just like, damn. Like, he's like, I just think you guys just do it better than they do.
Oh.
And I was just like, damn.
And are you also doing all the Spotify playlisting?
Yeah. I pitch everything. I have all my PR contacts. I just go ham in. Every 2 weeks, I'm just going ham. and then I also have time to just make a ton of music, which I have. In like a year, I've probably made like 70 or 80 tracks.
Oh,
compared to like in the years I was with New Androids, probably like 15. So it's like the uptick is just, it's very noticeable. And it's made me a lot happier, honestly. Like, I get to, like, wake up and do what I want.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't have to answer, like, 100 emails. From, like, I don't know, like, agent assistants. What's the ticket count? It's still 0. Still 0, son. We're 5 weeks out. No one's buying tickets yet. So, yeah, that's kind of it. Like, you know, just having a healthy balance. And I'm now starting to see the returns of all the production, all the hard work that DJ Elvice and I like put into the label, where, you know, people are like know about it, and people like, you know, comment and like send us messages being like, yo, like this is so sick, I'm so happy you guys are doing this. And DC has really embraced the label. Like, we did like 430 people at U Street Music Hall 2 weeks ago. So it's like, you know, we're like DC's like label. And being like DC's like label or whatnot, or just being the top label from DC was very, very, it's what I wanted. I wanted to like, the Washington City Paper does like a best of in electronic music every year. They didn't do one last year. They're gonna do one this year. And I got, New Androids was voted one of the best companies, promo companies, and I was voted one of the top 2 producers in the city. Oh wow. Me and Eau Claire. And I was like, and then they had a label, and I saw the label who got it, and I was like, I want to beat them. Yeah. So like, that is my goal. I'm like, I want to beat them, and I want to be the top guy. I want to be on all, well now 2 things, top producer and top like label. Yeah. And just be like, yeah, we're DC's label. Like, you know, this is us. I'm wearing like a Washington Wizards jersey because I genuinely just love DC. It's like, I want to put on for the city. Like, I want to like, you know, when I go around, like, I'm either wearing like a Wizards jersey, something from like majors in Washington, D.C., or something other DC centric, because it's such a dope city with so much like culture and community. I don't know. It's interesting. And a lot of people don't put on DC like that. So it makes me happy that I'm like able to do that.
How would you say your music has changed since the early songs you made?
Oh my God. So like I used to use just one VST because some of bass. And to make like all my tracks for like 3 years, and then like I was just like, one day I was just like, all right, enough, Julian, like time to like diversify yourself. And basically since then I've just been focusing more on sound design and like more like playing with things and kind of just like doing things I'm not supposed to. And there's these plugins from Output that just help me just create noises and like all these huge bass sounds that aren't, and I throw like all this processing that I'm like, yeah, I should never do this, but like, screw it, I'm gonna do it anyway. And I've been able to get some really cool results that's helped me elevate my production game. And I also do a lot of other projects too. I work with a guy down the street who was Washington Post like Artist of the Year in 2012, and he was actually Matthew Deer's label, Ghostly International. He was his first like signing on his label back in the day, and we did a whole like ambient like just EP, and it was just so different, so far removed from what I actually do. It was really nice, but it just helped me like get, you know, put a different hat on, and just get back into it.
Yeah.
And then when I go back and make like kind of like the rowdier house stuff, I'm like, oh, I can like do this, and this, how I did here.
Yeah.
So that has helped me like up my production game, and I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, like I'm doing like interesting stuff, and like people are paying attention. So, you know, I just got to keep at it, put, you know, the pedal to the metal, and just really just zone in and work.
What would you say have been your biggest challenges in your career?
Honestly, getting over sub and bass and like trying to like think outside the box for a while, because like, you know, my first track did like 250,000 plays, and like I felt like, oh, this is what the people want, like, and I kept making songs like that because I thought that's what they wanted. And like a lot of my songs like sounded very like similar, and I was just like, that's not who I want to be. Like, I want to be like someone who can like, you know, flip it back and really do anything that makes interesting music. So it really took a lot to like take that cap off and be like, okay, like stop trying to recreate Sexy Back, stop trying to like do that, and zone in on like combining other elements from all over the world to make your own sound. So like, for example, like I have a track coming out on like G Mafia Records from Brazil, and I drew from like Brazilian bass, like bass house, a little bit of techno, and made my own little like sound with it. You know, it had Brazilian bass undertones, but it wasn't fully Brazilian bass. And then I had like a little bit of G house like elements sprinkled in. I had a hard kick drum that with a long decay that like techno people usually use. So it's like been awesome to just pull from different like avenues or whatnot, or different genres, and just try and create something new that I don't think sounds like anybody else. And that's like, you know, that's what my goal is just be as unique as possible, and just see, you know, if the people like it.
Yeah, that ties into my last question, but what do you want to be remembered for?
Honestly, pushing my own genre in America and in the world, and just being able to carve my own lane, for house music, and just kind of like having a label that's respected. One of my goals is have a party in Ibiza. That's like, you know, like if I could have a label party in Ibiza, like I'll be very okay with the rest. Yeah, like, but yeah, no, more so someone who just didn't like fold to like what is popular now and create my own thing, which is what I think we're doing right now with Ghetto Ghetto and the Julius Jetson project. So yeah, that's the thing. Oh yeah, and combining like and merging rap music back into house, because, you know, back in the day, house music was a very like African American thing. It was all gay African Americans in Chicago and Detroit, and I just feel like they've all just been so far removed from it. So to marry that culture back together would be like beautiful to me.
Yeah.
Where like, you know, you would, if you were in Chicago like and listening to like ghetto house music, like, and it's like on the streets in the ghetto or something, like that would be so cool, because it makes sense. Because the originators of like Frankie Knuckles and like, God, like Juan Atkins and all those people, like Blake Baxter, and like they all just were like playing to warehouses of predominantly gay African American men. And, you know, that's beautiful to me.
Yeah.
It's fucking beautiful. Yeah, so that's what I want to be remembered for.
I love that. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.